Right, so in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is giving you an update on all the different lawns, these two in the back, the two lawns that we have out at the front. We'll be talking about why they are sort of in different conditions, even though they're only around about 50 feet apart, not even that. Whether it's to do with, you know, the soil conditions, the grass type, or even that sunlight we're getting as well. And then what else we're going to be doing too is we're going to be doing maintenance on almost all the lawns. Not massive jobs on some of them. Some of them we're doing other bits and bobs, but I'll chat about that as we get on with the video. But first and foremost, I'll show you what condition every lawn's in. So since we're in the back garden, let's start off with this lawn up at the top. Now, if I'm being really honest with you, I think this lawn is, you know, looking pretty decent, especially compared with what it was looking like around about 2 weeks ago. I mean, granted, it is still very thin, but you can see the sun's starting to get onto the lawn now, and especially around these spaces you can see the grass has started to grow, the blades have started to thicken, and the overall lawn is starting to thicken out. And when I say thicken out, I don't mean that the actual plant is reproducing. You know, all the research that I've been doing on different types of grass plants over the past few weeks, I've learned more about, you know, how certain species of plants can multiply as, you know, you cut them and then you vertically cut them, or, you know, you're scaturifying things, and that's how some plants can naturally thicken themselves up. But this is a ryegrass plant, and what I mean by this plant thickening up is that it's starting to produce new grass blades coming off the actual parent plant at the base of each of the grass plants. Obviously, it's a bit of an awkward situation really, because this side is in the shade pretty much all day at the moment, so it's going to take so much longer for this side of the lawn to recover. But you can see now that clear difference between this side and as we move over to this side. It's definitely about 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away from a renovation on this lawn where we're going to be doing an overseeding, so not there just yet. But, you know, the application of fertiliser last week has done a decent job. It's still not completely broken down because it does take a little bit of time. You can still see the actual fertiliser on the soil there, but compared to what this was looking like, it is looking decent. I've seen quite a few videos recently when I've been researching grass types which talk about, you know, not having to overseed or renovate your lawn every single year. If you've got a bent grass lawn, what I've learned is when you're cutting the lawn or vertically cutting the lawn, you're promoting more growth, and, you know, the plants like multiply and expand itself around the lawn, really thickening it up, which then means that you don't need to be constantly overseeding. Whereas if you've got a ryegrass lawn like this, if it is thin and it is patchy, you are going to overseed. Some people see that as being a bit of a chore and don't really want to overseed. To be honest, I really like the idea of coming out, doing jobs on this lawn, overseeding it. So to me, yeah, I'm not too fussed. And that leads us to the two lawns at the front of the house. And if I do say so myself, I think these lawns are in a really, really nice condition. You can just see how uniform the colour looks, how thick it looks from above. You can see the actual sward itself is really packed in tight. And this is a ryegrass lawn. This is exactly the same grass seed that's on the lawns in the back garden. So you can just see that a change in environment in terms of how much sun it gets can have a massive impact on the grass type. And exactly the same thing applies to this lawn too. Now, like I said in a few of my recent videos, if you have been around this channel for a while, you'll have known what this lawn looked like about this time last year. It looked like that horrendous jungle over there, but just look how nice this is looking. It's not the best lawn in the world. There's a little bit of power in there. That's not going to kill anyone. There's a little weed fella here. He's not killing anyone. You know, this isn't a lawn that I really want it to, you know, be as aesthetically pleasing as the lawn at the front over there. But this is a lawn that I just want it to look green. I want it to be thick. I want it to be maintained nicely this year. And since the application of fertiliser about 3 weeks ago, you can see it's really starting to take shape. I was going to start in the back garden today, but we only have a few hours of decent sunlight this afternoon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the front veg first. I'll get into the back garden and then we'll get on and we'll give the front lawn a cut too. I don't usually cut right up to the edge because these things are just full of thorns and just rips you to bits. I mean, my hand's got a massive scratch on it now just from doing it, hence why we've got the dodgy stripes over here, which looks a bit of a mess. But it does show you though, you don't need to be getting on your lawn with loads of mad stuff. I mean, all it's at is a bit of iron, bit of seaweed, one application of fertiliser, nothing too major. The weather's watered it all in, and it's just thriving now. I mean, because it's grass mix predominantly, all the grass blades are sticking up right, it's really thick leaved, stripes really nice, gives it a really nice colour, and hopefully the patch down that end will look exactly the same as what this is looking like. Possibly when we get to around about May, June time, fingers crossed, and we'll have one big uniform lawn on this grass veg. I was going to cut this last, but it's looking really nice, and I don't want to be too tired after I do, the job that I'm going to be doing on the back lawn. If I'm being really honest, I think these are probably some of the best stripes that I've had on this lawn at this time of year. Really happy with the way it's looking. The sward is nice and thick. There is the odd weed knocking about, and I've noticed a tiny bit of poa that has started to creep in, which is going to be, inevitable. But I've got a bit of a different stance on it this year. I've thought a lot about poa and the impact it has on a lawn, and yeah, it can be unsightly. But what my aim is this year is the actual grass species that I want to be growing. So for example, this lawn is a ryegrass. I want that to be the dominant plant, and rather than just pulling out every single poa plant that I see, I might pull the odd one if it has got seed heads on, but it's about actually having that ryegrass plant outcrowding the rest of the other plants. Create a thick sward and outcrowd any of the weeds, and manage your weed problem sort of that way instead. I did give this lawn its first cut too. I didn't film it because with this thing in the middle, I thought it'd be quite awkward to cut. Now it's definitely not a ryegrass lawn, it's probably a fescue and bent lawn. I'm just guessing that because it doesn't look thick like rye, and it's full of thatch. It's really, really spongy, but you can see with the position of this lawn, it stripes up really, really well. So once I actually get on and scarify it and overseed it, then do a full renovation, it's going to look really, really nice. So the first thing I'm going to do to this lawn is I'm going to give it a cut, but I'm going to try and be careful because we've had a lot of rain this week, and even though the soil isn't as wet as it was a few weeks back when we had all that heavy rain over winter, it still is a little bit moist. So I'm going to be careful. I may not turn the lawnmower around, I might just pull it backwards and forwards, because I think the actual rear roller might do a little bit of damage to the places where we do have grass over here, and the less damage I can do sort of now, the better. Nah, do you know what? It was okay. the soil fared up, not too bad to be honest. So yeah, I'll keep going different directions and see if the lawn's okay at the end. You might not actually believe me, but in person it doesn't look too bad. I mean, I've just had a look at it then through the actual phone, and it looks worse than what it is. Yeah, it's patchy, but there's one consistent colour all the way across. There's hardly any weeds knocking about. I mean, that's still to be determined in the next few weeks, but it's okay. So what I'm going to do today to this lawn is I'm going to aerate it using just a typical garden fork. Now, the reason why I want to aerate it is because we've had so much rain over the past few months. What that's done is any air pockets that have been down within the actual soil itself have been taken away by that moisture, by the compaction of the soil as a result of that. So what I want to do is I want to get some more oxygen down into the actual soil profile, and then all the bacteria and everything that lives down in that soil is going to benefit from the actual oxygen being able to get down, and then it's better for your roots, it's better for the actual overall health of the plants as well. There's a lot of videos out there that show you golf courses, and they have these big massive tractor-y looking machines, like a big lawnmower almost, that goes along and it goes do 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 and whacks a load of holes into the soil. and obviously it's putting air down into there, you know, as a result. Now we have had a lot of rain recently, so the soil is quite moist, but that makes it easier to actually get the garden fork deep down into this soil layer, and it's going to enable a lot of that moisture to go through those little fissures that we're about to put into the soil, and then it's going to help it drain a little bit more easily. I mean, it's not going to go from being a little bit damp to like bone dry overnight like that. That's not going to be the case, but it's just going to aid the next time we do have a rainfall, which is, you know, estimated to be in the next 3 hours. It's going to enable a lot of that moisture to go down into the soil layer. This lawn is on quite, you know, heavy clay, and even though being on, I've leveled this twice with topsoil. The topsoil layer is probably around about that deep, maybe you're talking maybe 3 inches or so, 3.5 inches, and the rest of it is clay. I tried actually aerating this soil last summer when we had the heat wave, and I tried getting the fork into the ground, and there's absolutely no chance it was going down, because, you know, when we get into sort of the summertime, the clay dries out and it just goes rock hard like concrete, which means it's almost impossible to get this down into the, you know, the actual, to get it down deep enough really for it to have any sort of impact. So I'm going to go along, press a load of holes into the soil. I mean, look at that. I hardly put any force into that and it's gone, you know, how far? About 6 to 8 inches down into the soil. So yeah, not too bad. I'm going to keep them fairly close together. You know, there's a lot of things online which say you don't need to have them that close, but I'm going to put quite a few in because I know how poor the drainage can be on this top lawn. So the more fissures that I make, the better the drainage is going to be. And I've just realised now it's probably a good time to go and get the old iPad and earphones, because I'm going to be here for a while. This is one of those jobs that I really wish I hadn't started. Be here all day. If I'm being really honest, I'd rather have a lawn that's waterlogged or a lawn with really poor drainage than to do that again. Got blisters all over my hands, probably should have worn gloves, and that's just really, really tiring to actually do. But it's done now. I'll show you up close what it sort of looks like. You can see that there are holes all over the place, okay, and there you go, you know, almost the depth of the garden fork. That's all over the shop. Towards the end I was moving it a little bit more to sort of break up the soil, so you can see there's quite sort of big gaps, and even here, you know, I lifted the soil slightly to relieve some pressure from underneath, to open up those pockets to let the air in and to let the lawn breathe. If you haven't seen last Sunday's video, it was all about this lawn and asking you guys, you know, the people who watch these videos on YouTube, asking you for help. And so many people commented, far more than I expected to comment with advice. And everything, you know, varies from whether I should go with ryegrass or whether I should go with a fescue lawn or maybe a mixture of bent and fescue. And everyone's obviously got their opinion and their thought on what should happen with this lawn. Very unique circumstances in terms of, you know, a lot of brick walls around the outside. That has an impact with the drainage. So does the actual garden behind us, with it being so high. That has an impact on how well this soil can drain. But I'm not going to discuss any of, you know, the next steps in this video, because I'm not 100% decided yet what I'm going to be doing with the next steps. But when I have, which will probably either be next weekend or the weekend after, I'll post a video responding, you know, to most of what people suggested, and I'll have my final decision as to what I'm going to be doing with this lawn. So thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like. I mean, I didn't really do a whole lot. I cut a few of the lawns, I aerated, but it just proves to you that you don't need to be doing tons and tons of stuff. If you haven't fertilised yet, this is the time to be getting on now and fertilising your lawn, and to get on and to cut regularly and to aerate like I've just done up there, possibly with gloves. I wouldn't hollow core aerate just yet, because you are opening up the soil a little bit too much, especially if you're not filling it with anything. I will be hollow coring this lawn. That is something I definitely have decided to do, but it is a job that's going to be done when we get to April. At the moment, we have nice days like we've had this week, where the temperatures aren't too bad and the soil temps are okay, but we're not quite there yet. We had quite a cold morning again this morning, so I think give it another 3 or 4 weeks and we'll be ready to get on, hollow core aerate it, fill it with sand, and get on with, you know, jobs like scarifying the lawns at the front and so on and so forth. So thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like, and if you'd like to check out any of my other videos or follow along with these lawn tip videos, I'm not proclaiming to be an expert, never have, but what I do show on this YouTube channel is genuine, real UK lawns, and I do normal stuff to them, no pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. So if you're interested in following along, feel free to subscribe. And finally, thanks for watching.